The word for you today, it's Wednesday, August the 30th, when God gives you a vision, part 2. Scripture, so then, King Agrippa, I was not disobedient to the vision from heaven. Paul is imprisoned right now. He's being held in prison. He's been in prison for over 2 years, maybe longer. And King Agrippa has come to hear and to find out what Paul has appealed to Rome, to Caesar. And so these folks have to send Paul to Rome, and they've got to find something to charge him with, and they don't have anything to charge him with. So King Agrippa has come to hear Paul and say, okay, what are we going to charge this guy with? So Paul says, King Agrippa, I was not disobedient to the vision from heaven. And what was his vision? You remember he was on the way to Damascus to arrest the believers in Jesus Christ. And Jesus spoke to him. He blinded him on the road to Damascus and changed Saul the persecutor into Paul the preacher. So how about us? How do you know when God gives you a vision? Well, God will give you an unshakable desire for something. You discover a supernatural strength to do what God's calling you to do. There'll be some desire that just keeps coming up and keeps coming up and keeps coming up. You sometimes see people ministering in areas that are very difficult and they don't see much fruit. And then one day, all of a sudden, boom, there's a lot of fruit. There's a lot of results from their ministry. Well, it wasn't that they started doing something right then. It was their faithfulness through that time. Whatever God gives you as a vision, He will give you an unshakable desire for it. And then the second thing, God will open doors that are outside of our control. Things that you never thought were possible are suddenly happening. And it doesn't happen just one day. Again, it's the faithfulness. Third, God will open His Word to us that will direct our path. Suddenly you're reading the Bible and it's making sense. Wow, there's this and this and this. And what you read before and it just was Bible reading now is making sense, and it applies to your life. And it applies to the vision that you have. And then fourth, God will show us the sacrifices we must make. God told Paul about the sacrifices. He says, you're going to go and you're going to preach to the Jews and the Gentiles. You're going to preach to many people. And he also told Paul that he's going to be hated. He's going to be persecuted. And Paul was. Well, the same thing in our vision. Whatever we do, there's going to be a cost. There's going to be a sacrifice. So the question is, are you willing to be sacrificial for God? When God gives you a vision, embrace it. Okay, God, I'll do that. Then trust Him. Trust Him. Not your own strength, but trust Him. Obey Him. And the reason you have to trust Him and obey Him is because there's times things aren't going to go well. You just got to trust Him. And then be faithful. Simply be faithful. And leave the results up to Him. Paul is imprisoned. He can't go and tell people about Jesus because he's imprisoned. But here's what happens. Jesus sends people to Paul like King Agrippa. Paul says, King Agrippa, let me tell you about a vision I had. I was not disobedient to the vision. Even in prison, Paul was not disobedient to the vision. So when God gives you a vision, just be obedient. Do what He tells you to do. It will bring you incredible joy. Have a good day.